Well, for some further analysis on this, I'm now joined by Cole Harvey. He's in Washington. He's a research associate at the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies. Thanks very much indeed for joining us here on RT. Well, some have viewed the activation of Iran's first nuclear power plant as taking a key step towards developing nuclear weapons. They could be right, couldn't they?
I would disagree with that. It's my opinion that the activation of the Bushehr reactor is actually a very minor addition to the proliferation risk posed in Iran. As you laid out in your introductory segment, Russia has agreed to take back the spent fuel from the reactor. What that means is that there will be only a very narrow window in which Iran could take that spent fuel and extract the plutonium from it that is necessary for a nuclear weapon. And in addition, the spent fuel will be monitored by the International Atomic Energy Agency. So this is a very hypothetical situation, talking about Iran using this for nuclear weapons.
But quite a few voices in the States wouldn't agree with that. They don't actually trust any of, perhaps, what you say, and are very concerned about, obviously, Iran's intentions. And what about, though, Russia's involvement with this? Do you think, in some ways, the international community is still suspicious of Russia being involved behind this project?
I think that the timing of the activation is regrettable from the viewpoint of the United States and its other partners, who are trying to focus on applying sanctions to Iran and the negotiation process to get them to resolve some of the questions that are lingering about the nuclear program there. However, as you mentioned before, this reactor has been in progress for 15 years, and it's very hard to delay it any farther.
So what do you say, then, to people like the former U.S. ambassador to the UN, John Bolton, who said the other day that Israel's only got about 3 days to do something about this nuclear power plant and take military action? What's your argument against somebody like that, when he clearly sees a threat, along with so many other people in the U.S. and the world?
Sure. I would say that statement is very much out of line with the actual degree of risk that is posed by the facility. The idea that Iran could take the plutonium out of the spent fuel and then fashion it into a nuclear weapon is something that would take quite a long time to accomplish. Iran does not have any known capability to do that, to extract the plutonium, and it would then have to design the warhead and fashion the plutonium into a weapon and then mount that on top of a missile. So it would be a time length that would be measured in years rather than months.
But there are some who are saying maybe no military action now, but Israel could be, along with the backing of the US in the future, thinking about some sort of military campaign. What would you say about that?
I would say that the best outcome of a military strike on Iran would be setting back the nuclear program by a few years, perhaps. But it would also unite the leadership and population of Iran behind the idea of actually acquiring a nuclear weapon, which is not something that we have any reason to suspect that Iran has actually taken that decision. It seems like they want to keep the option open, but that decision to actually build a weapon has not been taken. And the clearest, most direct way to make that decision happen would be to actually attack the nuclear facilities.
And what then would be the consequences of something like that happening in the Middle East?
They would certainly be very significant. Probably, well, it's hard to project. I don't want to cast too hypothetical a picture, but they would certainly be very drastic consequences.
But do you think there's a lot of heated talk at the moment, obviously because the power plant's about to be opened tomorrow, but by the fact that the UN watchdog is there to monitor events and the fact that you said that Russia's very much involved in this and there's a contract to make sure that no uranium is enriched, do you think everything will calm down and that perhaps once this is up and running, the situation may ease overall?
One of the positive aspects of the opening of the facility is that it provides a very clear example of why Iran may not necessarily need its own domestic uranium enrichment program, because it has an operating nuclear power plant, Bushehr, where the uranium is being supplied by Russia and the spent fuel is being taken away. So it's a very compelling model for an international fuel supply, which is something that the United States and its partners could point out to Iran and other states.
Just briefly and finally, will we see a different attitude from Iran once this is all up and running? Because at the moment, they're not exactly helping the situation, are they, by not cooperating? If they've got something to hide, why aren't they helping more?
That is a great question. I can hope that perhaps this would shed some clarity on if their claims are true that the program is solely peaceful, then this could be a way in that direction, but it's hard to tell at this point.
Really interesting to hear what you have to say. Cole Harvey, thanks for joining us live here on RT there in Washington, expert on non-proliferation.
Thank you very much.